I know we talk about reparations and righting the wrong of what was done in the past. And I know that the bishop of our diocese, as well as the dean, both of them have apologized for what those that came before them did, their atrocities that were committed. Do you think that their apologies are, and I use the word valid, but I don't know if valid is the word that I'm looking for. Do you think their apologies can make up for what was done to those who enslaved? Or do you think the apology should come from England?
I think both.
Okay.
Because remember, we are part of a colony. We're a colony, part of an empire, right? So, and to say that you're sorry means that you acknowledge that you did something wrong. And I think it was good that the bishop and the dean, they apologized. But I believe that we still need that apology from higher up, so that they can acknowledge, because it was them. It was Britain, it was France, it was Spain, etc. Right? All of them, they were all complicit. So the Catholic Church as well was also complicit in this same thing. So if you're not apologizing, then you're not acknowledging what you did. And if you're not acknowledging what you did, then it means that you don't believe that you did anything wrong.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Laventille a little bit, because I know it was said that there were quarries in Laventille and the stones that were used to build the cathedral came from there. And I find it's interesting. I mean, I didn't know there were quarries in Laventille to begin with. So what was Laventille like back then with the construction of the cathedral and so forth? What was Laventille like?
Again, there is a lot of more research to be done, but like Belmont, Laventille was a place for the ex-enslaved, so they tried to get away from the plantation. So they went to Belmont, and you could see that Belmont is still a small place. So you have small buildings, and then the streets are very narrow because they were just pathways, right?
Yeah.
They were pathways. For Laventille is a ridge, it's a hill, as you could see. So people started building houses on the ridge. And clearly, if you have a ridge, you could make a quarry. So that is what was going on. They're digging for limestone, and they're bringing some of the materials from England. And even the Catholic Church as well was built with the stones from the Laventille quarries. And I have some more research to do on that, and I could probably tell you the next time more about the Laventille quarry. But this is what was happening. So you had the enslaved moving away from the estates, moving away from those plantations and starting to build. You had maroonage, and that is just people running away from the estate before that time of amelioration and emancipation. So you had people running away. And of course, the only way for you to get away from people is to go very high up where they can't get you. So this is how Laventille was created. And then, remember I said that a lot of people came from other places. So you have people coming from Barbados and settling, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica. So these are the people that ended up building up Laventille. Any negativity now, I think it is because, one, we say negative things all the time, and if you say something negative, it's going to stick. That these people are thieves, that these people are bandits, nothing good could come from Laventille. But beside that, I mean, there are people who would do wrong. And well, you see what happens. People just say, well, yes, you see, we were saying this all the time, that this is bad and these people are bad. And of course, it's stuck on them. So at least that is my idea of the dynamics of Laventille and what has happened over time. And for Betham, because, and that is a regular dynamic. If you look at any other place in the world, where you have an industrialized city or a city on a whole, you're going to have people building little shanty towns to get to work faster. Because if I am living in San Fernando, and at that time you couldn't just take a taxi or take a coach or something and come to Spain, you had to go on the ferry, and the ferry was dropping people off at different points Port of Spain being the last point. So that would be so long, almost a day and more for you to get to and from Port of Spain. It was better to just build a little place so that I could get to work faster and then get from work even faster and build up your city. So that is what was happening there. So yeah, your big thumb is that is what it is. It's a shanty town. Sad to say, but now that people have built up and there are calypsos telling you about the people in the ghetto, right? But that is what in history, that is what you term it as. It's a shanty town from one place to the next. And now that they have been regularized, it is now on them to push your dynamic forward, to push your history forward, not only as something negative, but to find all the positives within that negative. I mean, it sounds easier than it is, but it's very hard. It's a very hard thing. And I'm glad that to see that that has been happening over time. So I look forward to what could come out of Laventille, out of Newton, etc. And see lots as well.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying there, what I'm getting is that Laventille was a sort of haven for those who were escaping the estates and so forth. So it was a haven, and then you have other people from other islands come into that area as well. So to me, you have like a mixture of different cultures and so forth taking place in Laventille. So
amazing place.
Yeah. So for me for it to have this reputation of being a depressed area or a hot spot or something like that, I find it very sad because I believe there would have been a lot of wonderful activities and relationships and
a lot of African cultures. In Belmont, you have the Rada community, and I'll leave you to do some more research on Rada. It's African.
What community? Sorry, what community?
Rada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rada. Very, very interesting. But when you say the word black is all kinds of negative connotation. So that is why too. So when you think about Black people, you're thinking about people are lazy, they're good for nothing, they do nothing, they work in obia, they're looking for help from the state. So, that kind of thing too, added to that horrible dynamic. So it is on us and people living in the areas to try to uplift from those ideas.
Wow, I hope more could be learned and shared about those areas to really find out the trajectory of that area. So we spoke about the church with regards to enslavement, but I want to shift gears and talk about the church and its role in indentureship. Did the church have a role in that as well?
Well, again, church and state was still one, and so the church devised a way to save some of these children coming off the ships, right? Because if you came with your parents and they died on the journey, now you're an orphan. Or some were born on the ship babies, were born and then their mother died on the ship, or died as soon as they came. So the St. Mary's Children's Home, that was created for that purpose. So it wasn't that nice name, but it was created for that purpose to bring the children and maybe some of the older children as well to a safe haven. They were not trying to evangelize so much, but of course they did, right? There was a decision taken to not evangelize some of the older persons that were coming. They left that up to the Presbyterians to do. But of course, you're still going to do it if you have your own little place, right? And the home was that. So you gave them place to shelter. I don't know if they did maybe some basic education, some basic religious instruction, and they did some work so that you would be someone in the society then, that you would have some little job in the society doing something. They wouldn't be out there trying to distress people, so to speak.
I'm curious about that decision. Sorry, go ahead, you go ahead.
No, well, that was the home. And if you look at some of the records, the government records, you'll see that it's matching up with some of the records at the St. Mary's Children's Home. Yeah.
I am curious about the decision that to not evangelize, because if Anglicanism was, we had small numbers at that time, you know, why leave it up to another denomination to do that? Why not try to see if we could, you know,
I don't know.
grow your numbers?
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't do it, but they knew that the Presbyterians were coming for that reason. So, you know, to keep the peace, so to speak, I assume that that is why they would not have tried to evangelize on a big scale.
Right, but then it's curious as well, because they didn't evangelize, but they felt it necessary at that time to provide a space for those children that were orphaned. I find that admirable. You know, I find that kind of forward thinking, in the sense of, because if you're not, you know, if you're not doing it for a purpose, a reason of providing shelter for those that don't have, you know.
Yeah, and if they get a few people in the process, well, great. And if they don't, well, great. You know, they weren't really thinking highly of the Indians, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe that is it. But I know that they tried to leave it to the Presbyterians, are going to say Roman Catholics. Well, they tried to, you know. Roman Catholics tried to, but they failed. Because remember, the Presbyterians were coming with their ideas and their dynamic for a certain purpose to get these people. Right. And they had their ways of doing that before. I've never really.
Well, that's what I want to know. What their methods were.
Yeah. That is some research I would need to do. But John Morton and his wife, they came to do that evangelism. So that is as much as I know.
Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Because we know where the ships were coming off in the Port of Spain.
Yeah, exactly.
Up to a point, and in the 1860s, 1866, they started coming to one of the islands, Nelson Island, first. Because people were arguing, polite people in the society were arguing that they didn't want all of these Indians coming off in the Port of Spain, vagrancy, they were packing up the hospitals, so they did not want that. So they made a different place for them to come. So you would come off and Nelson Island, they process you, they figure out if you're sick. So if you're sick, they send you to a hospital right there to convalesce, and then they send you off, they dispatch you to where you have to go, whichever estate that is. Yeah.
Also, maybe there was an estate or something like that around that area. Could have been an estate.
Well, yes, there was the estate. Yeah, there were the estates there. Yeah, Tacarigua.
Oh yeah, Tacarigua, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. There are a lot of, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of good things that, of course, the Anglican Church would have done throughout the years, you know, in terms of education and you know, providing space for those that need it, etc. So I think that's pretty good. But like I said, you know, somebody needs to apologize for, you know, those atrocities that was done.
They're probably saying that is in the past. These people still talking about that. Why? Yeah. That has gone. But I don't know if you follow one of these professors. I think, yes, he's a professor now. Hilary Duckles. He was talking to the UK Parliament. Can't remember what year now, but he went to address them to talk about reparations and to talk about all of these problems. Because inadvertently bringing people from where they were living all the way across the Atlantic to a new place, giving them new diets, not giving them enough support, doing whatever, created and carried everybody, all of us, into a tailspin. So now we have a lot of people with NCDs, high blood pressure, diabetes, a lot of mental illness. And all of that is the reason why a lot of vagrancy. Because a lot of the people that you see as vagrants here in Trinidad and Tobago, they are not on drugs and they are mentally ill. And mental illness plus doing some drugs to try to get that off or to put it behind you makes things even worse. Yeah, so that is what he was saying, even our diets. So that is why we have a lot of high blood pressure, a lot of diabetes, because look at what we are eating. A set of provisions, a lot of flour, pigtail. I know that's nice stuff, yes. Delicacy.
Yes, it's nice.
Who doesn't like that? And who doesn't like cow heels? Some people like pig foot, and you make a sauce, all of those nice things, but those things are killing us softly. It's killing us softly. So that was part of the reparation. But as I said, powers that be, they don't see the reason to apologize. This has come and gone. You've got your freedom now. You have independence. Some of you all are republic, right? The Republican states. Barbados just got their Republican status late last year. So you see, what are you all complaining about? But you see, over time, you now start to see the problems. A lot of people have sickle cell. And there was a train of thought, I guess, a school of thought where people are saying that they chose certain types of persons, African persons, to come to the Caribbean because of the fact that they had sickle cell. Because people who have sickle cell don't get malaria. They don't get yellow fever. Because remember, your blood cells are like a sea. It's like a sickle. So these diseases cannot hide in your bloodstream, so they die. So you're making some super people, basically, instead of you having regular folks and they're getting sick. You want people that could work, robots. So you're going to try to choose the kinds of people that could come to do the work that you want them to do, be done to them. They are not human anyway. So, yeah. So yes, so that is our dynamic right now. And if we want to go forward with reparations, these are the things that we have to consider. At least some of them.
Is there any other tidbit of the Anglican Church, in terms of your research and so forth, that we didn't discuss that you feel that as a diocese we should know?
There are so many things and so little time.
Share. Well, we have the time. Share with us. What thing?
And so little time. I don't. So many things. I don't know. 1872. A lot of people don't even know about 1872. How we got to that point. Who we were under before. We could start with maybe the church. 1823. There was no diocese in the Caribbean. So
right.
It was not until 1824 you had the Caribbean being split into two, the Diocese of Barbados, the Diocese of Jamaica. Before that, we were under the Bishop of London. So then how did we consecrate the church? There is a thought that Woodford himself did that consecration. He tried that thing because he so didn't want the thing to fail.
Right.
That he pushed forward. He did a lot of things, and people were heartbroken when he died, when he went back to England. He died before he got back to England. And he was a young man, he was in his late 20s when he came to Trinidad. So he had that zest, he had that power, he had all the brilliant ideas of what he wanted to do. So somewhere between the 1824 and the 1870s, where we had the Anglicization, and that failed in 1870. And also the church was disestablished, and it means that it split from church and state.
Oh,
so
okay.
if you split church and state, that means the church is not getting as much money as it used to. It doesn't get the preferential finance then. Preferential finance is bad. It's bad. So here in Trinidad, we ended up having the Catholic Church getting more money than the Anglican Church, because by sheer size alone. So the people say, well, nah, man, we have to try to get something done here. And also at that opportune time, the Bishop of Barbados, he was really sick and he passed away. And they found out that was sad, but that's an opportunity now for us to try to get something of our own. So that is how they pushed forward a lot of writing, a lot of advocacy. And then in 1872, Richard Wall became our first bishop, and Trinity Church becoming cathedral. And yet still, we talk so much about Trinidad and nothing much about Tobago.
Right.
It is not, I want to tell you here, it's not really my forte. I'm not saying that I don't like it. There are other people more qualified than me, I want to say, that could tell you more about the church in Tobago. You have Dr. Craig James, you have Dr. Pemberton, and they both have done so much research on Tobago. You know, so yes, we had a church in the Anglican church in 1815, first church. So you see, it's a little more, it's a little older than Trinity Cathedral.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they celebrated an anniversary recently too. Okay. That was 200 years as well. But I'm saying all of this to tell you that when we became annexed, 1898, the church now had to come together, but we came together a little late in 1934. We came together as the diocese, the Anglican church in the diocese of Trinidad and Tobago. Well, it wasn't that, it was the Church of England that time.
Right.
And we changed over to the Anglican church in 1966, now having been a republic. Sorry, not a republic, an independent country yes. For a little time. Yeah, from 1962. You know, they thought, hey, we could now do something. We could now try to be somebody different. So yeah, so they changed themselves. Now we are now the Anglican Church in the Diocese of Trinidad and Tobago. And since then, I mean, so many things have happened. We have women in the church. We have your first female in the Caribbean, in the province of the West Indies, and that is very noteworthy. So I think we have more to do.
Yeah.
We have a lot more to do. Bishop Anstey High School just had their anniversary last year. Yeah, their 100th anniversary. Our president is a Bishop Steele. The wife of our prime minister is a Bishop Steele. And anybody that you meet and you don't know, you're going to see that ring and you know they're Bishop Steele too. So yeah. So we have much more to go, far to go. And as I was saying in some of those lectures, we have 2062 to prove that we have done more and that we are seeking to do a lot more in Trinidad and Tobago over this time. So yeah, so I think that is more or less what I want to say. I don't know if there's anything else you have in mind.
That is pretty good. That was pretty good. Because yeah. we you know, the Anglican Church did well, but I think we still have a lot more work to do. But you know, I see that some glimmer of hope in the future in terms of, you know, the lecture series that has been taking place with the cathedral. It's really causing food for thought. It's really causing minds to be changed and looking at something that we thought of in one way to look at it in a different way. You know, so, you know, we're kind of hoping that, you know, with more of these lectures, you know, and more of these discussions, that, you know, we could push things forward and look at things differently, you know. So my final question to you is, how do you think knowing the history of our church can help us with our worship, help us to be, you know, to take part in things in the church more if we know our history?
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, there's an old saying, if you don't know where you came from, then you don't know where you're going. And I think this is very applicable to us as well. People need to understand the church and understand where we have come from, how we have tried to change over time, so to speak, come up with the times, be more modern, instead of being just a British church in a Caribbean island. You know, we try now to become more Caribbean and more Trini. So yes, we have some way to go again. But if we continue in this vein and we get to understand where the church has come from and where the church is wanting to go. And we, as the younger persons in the church, could push forward. And I think that is why we need to understand history.
You know, I
Yes,
agree with you. Sorry, you go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, there are atrocities, but we need to do some reconciliation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that, you know, the church is not perfect, right? There are the good things and the not so good things, you know. But I like what you said about us establishing our own identity, because you know, the church made that switch when we became a republic, not a republic, sorry, independent, right? The church changed from the Church of England to you know, the Anglican Church in the Diocese of Trinidad and Tobago. So there was that acknowledgement that something had changed, right? But we kind of still kept the identity of, you know, in terms of the customs, in terms of, we kept a lot of the things from England, you know? So is it that we don't want to change too much? Is it that we still want to maintain, you know, the traditions and the look from England? Do you think, or, you know, it will all come in time?
I don't know if we decide to take a trip to the UK and go to a service, if it would be the same as what we have here. I don't think so. Really don't think so. And also, our role in Black Power, I feel laugh, because if you do a little research about it, you would see that some of the persons, they blacked up the Catholic Church because they found that the Catholic Church was less Trini, less Caribbean, less Black. And at that same time, we just happened to get our first local bishop. Yeah, so
I didn't even think about that. I didn't even make that link.
Yeah. So we have this penchant for just in time coming up any time. Just in time. Just in the nick of time.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That's so interesting. But I'm glad that we made the switch at some point, you know, even though it was just in time. So this was such an interesting conversation, Janelle. I mean, I have a greater appreciation of the church, you know, and some of the things that the church have done, you know, and again, as I said, not understanding that the church is not perfect. It's not, and nobody is perfect. I mean, you know, we are not perfect beings. So how could we expect the church to be, right? Correct. But I hope moving forward that, you know, we do our part in terms of, you know, participating in activities in the church and helping to help the church progress. And I mean, I really at this point want to appeal to anybody watching to assist in the restoration of the cathedral. I mean, any way that, you know, that can be helped financially, you know, we take in prayers as well. But I mean, the church really needs some assistance, and, you know, appealing to all Hilarians and Trinity boys as well, because all of us would have gone to carol service at the cathedral. Yeah. All of us would have gone to carol service at some point in time. So especially, I mean, anybody that went to an Anglican school, anybody got married in an Anglican church, anybody. But oh gosh, Hilarians and Trinity boys, come on, let's see if we can help the Trinity Cathedral at this time. So thank you so very much, Janelle. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. And I know you're being encouraged to write a book. I know you're being encouraged to do something. Yes, I know you're
many books.
Yeah, you know, but, you know, Holy Spirit will inspire as needed. But I look forward to what you have to write. I will definitely be one of those people lining up for your book when you write it eventually. So I I look forward to that. But thank you so much, Janelle. Thank you.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Yes. So everyone watching, remember to wear a mask, wash your hands, and watch your distance. Bye, everybody.